that period. So Portugal scores very well on all of those things. It's politically stable. There's lots of elections, but it's stable. It's generally the same economic policies are followed and international investors.
Olá, movers. Eu sou o João Maltez, advogado aqui na Martins Castro, e este é o episódio número 5 da moveCAST, o nosso espaço dedicado a debater as múltiplas oportunidades da mobilidade internacional. Estamos a gravar diretamente dos nossos escritórios aqui em Lisboa e você pode acompanhar todos os episódios no nosso canal do YouTube da Martins Castro e também no Spotify. Antes de começarmos, uma nota importante. Este episódio é o segundo da nossa série especial sobre mobilidade internacional e investimentos. O nosso objetivo é mostrar como você pode aliar a proteção patrimonial, rentabilidade e mobilidade global, especialmente através de investimentos inteligentes em Portugal. E para a conversa de hoje temos a honra de receber Shane Lyons, que é Head of Group Strategy Development da WElink Group, diretamente de Dublin, aproveitando aqui uma breve passagem por Portugal. Vamos explorar juntos porque Portugal se tornou um destino estratégico para investidores globais e como o investimento certo pode abrir portas para o Golden Visa e muito mais. Vamos começar? Shane, thank you so much for being here and for accepting our invitation.
Hi João, thank you very much for having me. I'm delighted to be here on a lovely sunny day in Portugal.
You always have short trips, but this will be a valuable one.
Short but very frequent trips to Portugal. We've been coming to Portugal for the last 10 years, so intend to continue to do so.
Shane, let's start with something easy for you, as you have a strong knowledge of the investment environment, of the international environment. I would ask you, what is your general impression of the role Portugal is gaining in the landscape of investment and specifically of international investment?
Okay, well, our perspective is WElink as an international developer. We've been around for 18 years. We've developed in Southeast Asia, in Northern Europe, in the UK, and more in the last 10 years in Iberia and in Italy, and then also some projects in Africa. So we've got a very broad perspective on international investment, and therefore we look very carefully at what's happening in the world and what impact that might have on our markets. And our impression of Portugal is we've been here for 10 years. We're very happy with our investments here, and we intend to be here for at least another 10 years to come. So that's the WElink perspective.
Okay. And in your opinion, what makes Portugal one of the most attractive destinations for international investors?
Well, I think it probably looks back about 40 years to when Portugal first joined the EU in 1986. I think that was a pivotal point in Portugal's modern development. And it's not just joining the EU, but it's how Portugal has taken advantage of that by taking advantage of EU regional development and structural funds, and also taking full advantage of the wider EU market of almost 450 million inhabitants. So we think that's a credit to Portugal in terms of developing and international investors recognise that. And
in the same context of the previous question, as you spoke about the European Union, I would ask you, what is how do you think the political stability, the legal security, and the strong euro community in Portugal makes a difference for investors?
It makes a huge difference. Any investor, any international investor or investor should have a perspective of the day you buy is the day you sell. So you need to look at the context and how you think the investment is going to perform over that period. So Portugal scores very well on all of those things. It's politically stable. There's lots of elections, but it's stable. It's generally the same economic policies are followed, and international investors reward that. The legal system is strong. There's a good strong base of professional legal firms and very reputable. And the currency is obviously the euro. So that is a key factor for investors too.
Of course. In that context, Portugal has a very strong sense of the state of law of protecting the rights of the citizenship, the citizens, and I think that's why, despite all the elections that we have, we can maintain our stability politically, legally, but also in terms of social rights and civil rights.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm still in the same. I remain in the same context of why Portugal, and I would ask you, besides these economic factors, besides the political and legal factors, what makes Portugal also attractive in terms of doing business, the facility of doing business, the quality of life, the cost of living? I'd like to hear something.
Well, I'm an outsider, but from our perspective, like the Portuguese workforce, young, knowledgeable, very, very savvy, very intelligent. We're having this interview in English. That English speaking is a real gateway to the international investment community, and also the lifestyle, the fact that people can feel secure walking the streets. The beach culture that you have, the beautiful beaches. It's such a vibrant venue for international tourism that creates that sense that Portugal is a place to live and work in and do business in.
You mentioned that you are an outsider, but you come a lot to Portugal. When was the last time that you came?
Well, 2 weeks ago. But I've been coming to Portugal for years, coming with my family on holidays up in northern Portugal. We love the people, we love the beaches, and we've always felt very welcome here.
Shane, let's pass to discuss a little bit about the golden visa and also about investment in itself, trying to densify a little bit more. You have a lot of interactions with investors, as we said. You have the Emerald Fund. You also have another fund, if I'm not mistaken, different from the Emerald Fund that is destined for golden visa. But I would ask you, what do you find that leverage the investments of people to choose the investment that can make them eligible to apply for the golden visa?
So the key things that we think that investors are looking for golden visa purposes is they want an investment that makes them feel good, about long-term planet sustainability, that is going to be a safe and secure investment, and also will contribute to society. And the investments that the Emerald Fund is making, we're investing into a hybridized renewable energy facility in a project in southern Portugal called Solara 4. It's the cornerstone investment. And that ticks all of those boxes. It's an existing investment, as well as additional developments of it's 219 megawatts of solar that is operational for the last 3 years, and we're developing a further hybridization of that by adding wind and adding battery storage to that, which will create a project that is of scale and will be making a huge contribution to the local economy and to the wider Portuguese energy system.
Okay. We have discussed in the previous episode, and we'll continue discussing about golden visa in this episode, but also in the next episodes. Many people think that the golden visa was terminated when in 2023 the government ended the real estate investment for the golden visa. But the truth is that the golden visa is still a valuable path for international investors. And I would ask you, in your experience, why do you think golden visa is still worth for investors?
Well, it's worth doing for people who are looking to get a residency and citizenship in Portugal. Like it is a real path for doing that. Whether you want to move soon or not so soon, it's a path for doing so. It also provides an opportunity for people to make investments that they can see as being secure and value for money over the long term of the investment. The Golden Visa investment period is 5 years, so you need to leave your investment in the investment for 5 years. And the private equity fund structure, that the regulated fund structure, is a method of doing that, and that's a system that is well managed under the auspices of the Portuguese financial regulator, CMVM.
And why do you think people choose the Golden Visa?
For Portugal.
For Portugal, of course.
Well, it's for all the things that we've talked about. It is because it is a safe and secure, it's politically secure country. It's access to the EU and to the Schengen area.
Do you think it's a plan B for international investors? Do you think it's like a safe door that they want to keep open?
Absolutely, it is. And what we're seeing is that the demand for Golden Visa investors is coming from countries that are undergoing some turmoil at the present time, and where people either don't like the direction of travel of their country, or are feeling somewhat threatened by the state of the political environment in their country. So that relates to lots of places, but it also relates to minority groups that might feel threatened in certain countries. We're seeing some of that in terms of the demand that we're seeing from investors.
Ok. Lembrando apenas, movers, que a equipa da Martins Castro está preparada para ajudar a estruturar o seu investimento e o seu pedido de Golden Visa. Para saber mais, só tem que clicar aqui no QR Code e ver o nosso conteúdo e pedir uma consulta com os nossos especialistas. Shane, thank you. You've mentioned CMVM just seconds ago, and I would enter straight in this topic. What is CMVM, and what makes the investment, in the same context of this question, what makes the investment secure in Portugal?
Yeah, okay. So CMVM is the financial regulator. It's the equivalent of the SEC in the United States. So everyone would know the SEC. So having CMVM involved means that there's a certain amount of governance and regulation involved. So CMVM govern the fund managers, and the fund managers manage the funds, the Golden Visa funds that investors invest in. So they make sure that the whole process is very well managed. So, and that goes from checking the investors themselves, making sure that they meet all the requirements, they have all the paperwork in place, and they can set up their bank accounts and their tax and meet all of the KYC and anti-money laundering requirements, which are a requirement of the regulator. But that works in the favour of the investors when it comes to making the investment, because in that circumstance, the fund manager steps into the shoes of the investor, and the fund manager assesses all the investment opportunities, makes sure that they're intending to give the right level of return against market benchmarks, does all the due diligence, whether it's legal, financial, technical, commercial due diligence on the projects themselves, the investments themselves, and then does all of the monitoring of that investment, including doing regular checks on the net asset value of the fund, and getting the funds audited, and reporting all of that back to the regulator, who's CMVM, who keep oversight of all of the funds and make sure that the funds themselves are being managed in accordance with their mandate, the management regulations.
In this matter, I was also thinking that how important is to have the correct legal assistance, not only to have a pre-analysis before the investor decide to make the investment, to make sure that they comply with all the requirements, but also with this KYC and AML due diligence that is made by the funds, also the banks, and everyone.
Exactly.
Shane, another question regarding this all these entities in Portugal. We have some strange names about these entities, but they are really important to make the investment safe, but also reputable. To know what fund is best to invest, is safer to invest, And I would ask you, besides CMVM is the CVM in Brazil. It's called CVM, the same entity. Besides this CMVM, what other type of entity could be a good source for the investor to know if the fund is reputable, if it is safe, if it has a good impact in the Portuguese territory?
Okay, so we have it's not the fund itself, but the project has been looked at by a couple of Portuguese government bodies. One is the Portuguese Trade and Industry Body, ICEP, yeah. So they have reviewed the project. We actually applied for a particular status for the project, for project of national interest for the project. And over the last 9 months, ICEP have been reviewing that and looking at the various government agencies, talking to the various government agencies involved, and they've decided to designate the project a project of national interest, and that's it's project number 307 on their project list of national interest. So that gives some sense that they've been through it, and that will give the project quite a bit of gives us confidence, if you like, going through the process that ICEP can help navigating the various statutory processes for the project as it goes through its system. And then the other body that we've been engaged in, government body, has been Fundo Ambiental, who are the environmental fund, and we have applied. There's an EU funding available for battery storage projects. And our battery storage project has been awarded a 20% funding from that. So it's government funding for that. So that we will draw that down as the project develops. So that gives us confidence around not only that government agencies are looking at what we are doing, what the project is doing, and
they are supporting as well.
They're supporting and they're liking it. But also great confidence for investors. If that's a grant support, so it means that the project needs less funding from elsewhere, so it gives more confidence to investors that their investment is going to be secure.
From what I am understanding, it is possible to choose a specific fund for the Golden Visa, but also choose, when choosing this specific fund, to invest in a specific sector, for example, in renewable energy.
Well,
it is your case.
It sort of goes the other way. If you choose a fund, the fund will have a mandate, an investment mandate, and that's set out in its management regulations, and that's as agreed with the CMVM. So you need to decide on the sector that you want to invest in. Do you like the sector, and then choose amongst the funds in that sector, if you like. So we're the Emerald Capital Fund, I think, is the only utility scale renewable energy fund that has actual projects. There are one or two funds that have pipelines, but we're I think the only fund that has actual projects that are investment ready.
Ok. Interrompo aqui mais uma vez só para lembrar que temos que na Martins Castro pode encontrar uma consultoria financeira, jurídica, para estruturar o seu investimento, para estruturar a internacionalização do seu património. Para isso, peço-lhe apenas que clique aqui no QR Code, que leia o QR Code através da sua câmara e para encontrar todo o nosso material e poder também falar com um dos nossos consultores. Shane, thank you very much. We are also at the end of our conversation. I would go a little bit deeper into the fund performance and explaining a little bit how does the fund works from the investment part to the choices made by the fund itself, by the company that manages the fund. How does it work? What is the process?
So the process is the fund has an investment advisor, and the investment advisor proposes investments to the fund manager, and the fund manager assesses those against the fund's investment criteria and against market benchmarks. And then the fund manager does the due diligence on that. It does the technical and financial and legal and commercial due diligence, and then it structures a deal in accordance with that to make sure that the transaction, the investment, is structured appropriately, and then makes the investment into the into the business. And once that investment is made, then the fund manager is responsible for monitoring that investment over the life and reporting back to the investors in the fund over the life. So, and typically, if it's a Golden Visa structured fund, then the fund life will be managed so that it matches the 5-year investment period requirement for the Golden Visa application, so that investors know that I make my investment today. It's the 30th of April, and I can exit that in 5 years' time, and so I don't need to leave my investment longer than necessary, and I can still get my passport or get my long-term residency as I require.
And how does the immigration authority here in Portugal test that the fund has these requirements, namely the maturity of the 5 years?
So there's the fund makes a declaration that the investor has made the investment, and that's date stamped. And at the end of that, it will still make that investment in 5 years' time to say that it's still invested, and it's after that period then the investor can look to realise their investment, to exit the investment.
Shane, to finalise this conversation, I would ask you, what advice would you make to an investor that wants to apply for the Golden Visa and are still choosing the fund, choosing the legal firm, and what advice would you give? So
my advice would be to think very carefully about the sector that you want to invest in. What's the impact going to be, both on society, on the planet, and also your financial position at the end. So make sure that you're happy with the investment as an investment proposition. I'd also advise you to think about the people that you're investing with. Make sure that they're professional, that they've got track record, that they've done it before, and that they can deliver. That will build confidence that your return is going to be there when at the end of the 5-year period. I'd also advise you to think about your exit. There's a phrase that my dad has: the day you buy is the day you sell. So think about how the exit is going to be, and how well is that defined by the fund and by the investment proposition. And then importantly, surround yourself with experienced professionals, people that can guide you through the process, that have done it before, and that have a good record of doing that. So those are the kind of main things to guide. A lot of it is around the people that you're dealing with. Try to deal with good quality people.
Sure. Thank you, Shane.
You're welcome.
Was great to have you here. It was great to have your inputs regarding the funds, regarding the Golden Visa. I hope you have a good trip back to Dublin, and you are welcome, always welcome here. Thank you, Shane.
Thank you, João.
E obrigado a você que nos acompanhou aqui. Se você está a considerar diversificar internacionalmente e aproveitar todas as vantagens que Portugal oferece, não deixe de acessar o QR Code na tela ou o link na descrição para falar com um dos especialistas da Martins Castro. No próximo episódio da nossa série especial, vamos explorar como estruturar um plano de proteção patrimonial internacional e o que considerar nas escolhas dos investimentos em diferentes mercados. Não perca, vemo-nos no próximo moveCAST. Até lá!